Truth to power. Truth to power. Wait a minute. We're speaking truth to power. Truth. Myself. Information man. And lions. Welcome to truth to power.
Hi everybody, this is Information Man. We're back at it again with my man Lion's Den from the Far East. We're going to get into one topic, particularly the topic around the riot that happened in Philadelphia after the Super Bowl when the Philadelphia Eagles won their first Super Bowl championship in the modern era. And as you know, there was rioting. There was a lot of nonsense that was going on out there. We want to touch on the there's a racial bias to this, because the majority of the individuals that were out there in downtown areas of Philadelphia and prominent areas, they were destroying things. They were acting a plumb butt fool. And we noticed, myself and Lion's Den, we noticed that there's a bias. There's a difference in how white folks in America are treated when they act up, when they act out, compared to how black people were treated. I mean, mainly when we are protesting, we come up against a lot of forces, the police. They call it a riot when we're protesting, and when white people are rioting, they may call it a disturbance. But we're gonna get right into this issue. My man Lion's Den, say something to the people out there.
Hey everybody.
All right, Lions Den, let's get right into this right now, folks. We're going to get right into it. Lions Den, break it down to the people out there listening exactly what was happening in Philadelphia as it relates to this riot. White folks out there rioting, tearing stuff up. My Lord. Go ahead.
Yeah, after the Super Bowl, there's been some disturbance, some tensions going on out there. People tearing down some tearing down the hotels, signs down there, some eating up horse manure, others basically roll over cars, some burn down streets in parts of Broad Street, which is like nearly downtown Philly. It's been chaotic, info. It's not just Philadelphia that was acting a fool. It's in Boston as well after the loss of the Super Bowl. So it's happening in both cities. And it's so sad that when it comes to basically when we fighting for injustices, when we have protests out there, you notice that police officers have full riot gear. Now, on this situation, with both in Philly and in Boston, there's nobody in riot gear. Police allowing this to happen. Matter of fact, police is celebrating with the fans. So, info, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are very simple, my brother. Like I've said many times, it seems like when white people go out and destroy, tear up stuff, act a fool, it's called a disturbance. It's like an apartheid system. There's one rule of law for white folks in America, and then there's another rule of law for black folks in America. Okay? Now, we know that we've had some tragics happen. We had the Trayvon Martin case. You had Eric Garner. You had the Michael Brown situation in Ferguson. And black people came together to protest. You have the Black Lives Matter movement that has springboarded itself into American prominence. And black people, when we come together to protest the brutality and the mistreatment and the racism that we deal with in this society, we're often characterized as thugs, as troublemakers, and then the media will quickly characterize protesters as it's a riot, that we're causing problems. And it seems to me that in America, the news media in white America is not willing to talk about the criminality and the criminal behavior and the misbehavior of white folks. It's like they have a pass, whereas when we have our issues, we're criminalized. And so it's definitely a double standard. It's an unfounded double standard very unrighteous, but it is a part of the apartheid system that I want to call it of American society. There's a rule for you if you're black, and there's a rule for you if you're white. And what you saw in Philadelphia was an example of what I would define as part of white privilege. They have the complexion for the protection, baby. And therefore, if you had black folks out there acting like that, you would have had riot gear, you would have had military tanks, like what happened in Ferguson when black folks were just protesting. And a lot of times when we're protesting, you have provocateurs out there that will go out there and act a fool. So it's funny how the police in Philadelphia, from the reports that I got a chance to look at, they were actually watching these white folks out there tearing stuff up and acting a fool, Lions Den. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, it's also, I agree with your info that, it's definitely a double standard because, we up there protesting, like what happened in Ferguson with Michael Brown, what happened in Freddie Gray in Baltimore. Basically, they calling us thugs. They're calling us basically thugs, and we up there trashing stuff and trashing our neighborhoods. But when it comes to cities like Boston, when it comes to cities like right in Philadelphia, and they doing that because we win or lose a game. It's, when it comes to sports events, when we win or lose, that's when they starting, celebrating. But they're doing it, destroying their properties and their neighborhoods as well, and police officers just allowing it to say hi, celebrating, and everything else. So it's basically a major double standard, and the mainstream media don't want to call it out.
Well, it's a double standard because it's just like an apartheid system. I'm going to keep repeating that. There's a rule and a law for black folks when we behave in a certain way. And then when white people behave in a way that you can deem as criminal, that you can deem as inappropriate behavior, for them, there's a different set of rules, which is it's okay. They're just having a good time. They're just expressing their celebration. They're expressing their exuberance that the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. Now, like I said, if black folks were out there tearing up buildings, destroying stuff, the first thing that people will say to us is, well, why do you guys destroy your own community? Then they want to bring in the National Guard. They want to bring in the riot gear, the riot police. They want to start throwing the smoke and start using the tanks, the military style, police style, to push us to move us along. Okay, white folks can tear up some stuff. Hell, I lived in the Bay Area, San Francisco. And white people would tear up stuff all the time in San Francisco and have their own little riots, and you wouldn't hear about them getting arrested. Now, when you look at what happened in Baltimore, they called that a riot, when in fact you had white people leaving an Orioles game that were throwing bottles and all sorts of things at black folks that were protesting peacefully as it related to what happened to Freddie Gray, who was mistreated by the police. Okay, mishandled. Okay, they threw him in the back of that wagon, and they call it a nickel ride in Baltimore. For those of you that are from Bmore like me, they gave him a nickel ride, which is why Freddie Gray got himself all crushed up in the way they handled him, right? When black folks were protesting about that in Baltimore, many activists on the ground there said that the police were agitating some of this behavior that took place in Baltimore. And you really can't find any evidence that it was the people themselves who lit that fire in some of those areas, right? It's all confounded. It's all mixed up information. It's all, and so when all that took place, they put hands on black folks. They labeled black folks as troublemakers, criminals, all sorts of things, my man Lions Den. So this is the lesson that we need to learn as black people, that there's one rule for white folks when they want to act a fool and act up, and there's another rule for black people. We go to jail. We go to jail when we protest unrighteous behavior of the police. We go to jail when we stand up for something. White folks can riot over a football game, have exuberant celebration, tear shit up, and then they get to go home to the peace and quietness of their home, get in their beds and relax and talk about it the next day about how they tore up some stuff and had a good old time. Me and you would be looking for someone to pay our bill to get out. It's a double standard in American society how black folks are treated in these same circumstances. It's just like a Lion's Den, that motorcycle gang that did all that shooting a few years ago was a white motorcycle gang, and you never heard anyone in the media call it white on white crime. But black people, they'll quick to label us black on black crime. They're quick to label us troublemakers, and white folks can do whatever they want because they're white, they have privilege, and damn it, they run America, they run a world. With that said, Lions Den, do you have any last words before we end this?
Yeah. My final thoughts info is that it proves, like, it's called we're living in two different Americas, and we call it basically white privilege because basically, when they're white, they can get away with stuff and get away with it, but what we can't get away with it. And unfortunately, until we address this problem, things continue to happen, and that's all I have to say, info.
Things continue to happen. I'm going to leave with this, folks. The whole black identity extremists. You've got, while they're trying to label black people as black identity extremists, you've got white hate groups in this country that are continuing to increase. White folks that have, do you know statistically, white hate groups, right-wing hate groups have killed more cops in this country, have done more pillaging, more damage in this country. I think it's at 71%. You can find the research. 71% of some of the radical crimes that are happening in American society is not happening by people that are involved in Islam. It's not happening by black folks. It's happening by these white hate groups that are all time increasing more and more. We all saw what happened in Charlottesville. Those white folks in Charlottesville were acting a fool. They were able to do what they did. They were able to demonstrate. The police let them do it, get away with it. They killed someone. You don't hear black organizations killing anyone. They want to label Black Lives Matter as a radical group. No, it's not. It's all a part of making sure that they can shut us up, shut our values up, stop us from standing up for ourselves. Just like J. Edgar Hoover, who was the director of the FBI, he said he would not allow there to be a black messiah, which is why they had to kill Dr. King and they had to kill Malcolm X. So we as a people need to wake up and understand that there's a difference in how we're treated. There's an apartheid system in America, a subtle system that impacts us. With that said, Lions Den, we are about to be out. We'll be back with more Truth to Power, folks. Thank you.